Here's what a brutal design critique taught me about resilience. The first time someone told me I'd sold out, I wasn't offended, I was confused. I was backstage at a speaking event talking about my latest book when a fellow creative director asked how I'd managed to turn my ideas into a business. Before I could answer, she said, it's great that you've done so well, but don't you worry that your art is, less authentic now? I wanted to ask her how not paying her electric bill made her art more genuine, or what exactly was purer about struggling to get your voice heard in a world of mediocre noise. But I didn't. I just smiled, took the stage, and told an even better tale. But first, a story. Back in design school, long before my life was filled with client meetings and keynote stages, we had a ritual that our instructors probably borrowed from the Inquisition. All week long, we'd obsess over our design assignments. We'd sacrifice sleep, self-confidence, and whatever little dignity we had left. Then on Friday, we'd pin our work to a classroom corkboard and line up like lambs being led to the slaughter. We'd sit there silently as the professors and our fellow students sliced our efforts to ribbons. No one was offered a kind word. No one softened the blow. It wasn't hazing exactly, but it was close. Why did the design program embrace criticism with such fervor? Why was our creativity forged in such an unforgiving furnace? I didn't understand it then, but years later, I saw that those brutal critiques had given me a thick alligator skin. Thanks to those unforgiving afternoons, I was armored with the ability to stay calm when clients or critics casually dismissed my work. I could sit through meetings where someone dismantled a logo or trashed a campaign concept and not take it personally. I'd smile, nod, listen, and then go about fixing what needed fixing, or not. My reaction was no longer driven by my artistic ego. It was all about clarity. That brings us to Andrew Hickey. If you haven't listened to A History of Rock Music in 500 Songs, do yourself a favor. Hickey's podcast is a brilliant, obsessive, scholarly love letter to rock music history. It's the kind of work that's so good, it makes you want to stand up and cheer. And also, apparently, the kind of work that draws out trolls and their vituperative vitriol. Andrew wrote a post sharing how painful it is for him to receive negative comments from listeners who know so much less than he does, but criticize so much more than they should. His note hit home for me because I get it. And I wrote him a note saying so. Because here's the thing. Creative people, especially the ones brave enough to publish, perform, or post, don't just share their ideas. They share pieces of themselves. And somehow, the moment they start succeeding, someone accuses them of selling out. We've even baked this strange logic into our culture. Have you ever heard anyone talk about a starving accountant? How about a starving dentist or a starving electrician? Of course not. But starving artist? That phrase rolls off the tongue like gospel. Vincent van Gogh is widely considered one of the most influential artists in history. His emotionally charged brushwork, bold use of color, and expressive style transformed painting and was foundational to modern art movements such as Expressionism and Fauvism. Artists, including Henri Matisse and Edvard Munch and the German Expressionists, were all directly influenced by his work. Yet during his lifetime, Van Gogh sold less than a handful of paintings, and he lived mostly on financial support from his brother. When he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, he was penniless and largely unrecognized as an artist. Here's the sad truth Van Gogh's tragic life leaves us with. There's no honor in suffering for your art, and there's no shame in getting paid for it. When creators like Hickey turn their ideas into thriving enterprises, it's not selling out, it's showing up and living their genius. And for people like me who listen, learn, and love every episode, that work is a gift. We are all richer because Andrew does what he does. If you're a creator, a leader, or a brand builder, here's your takeaway. Don't grow a thicker skin just to protect yourself from insult. Build it so you can keep sharing your work no matter what. And the next time you feel the sting of criticism, or worse, the kind of anonymous bite that social media makes so easy, remember this: the louder the boos, the closer you are to center stage. Do you want your team to understand how to build bold brands and a thick skin? I keynote at conferences around the world, and still have just a few dates open in 2026. Let's build something unforgettable together.